So, A, thank you very much for the introduction. B, if you're wondering what my accent is, it's New Zealand. So if you hadn't heard one of those before, this is a New Zealand accent. I'll try and speak quite slowly. If you don't understand what I'm saying, please put your hand up. And Max here is an expert in both languages. Already we got hands. Thank you. Great. There's always one. Thank you very much. If you struggle, then please do put your hand up. By the way, at the end of the presentation, we'll be taking questions which you can either ask in Russian or English, and there will be a prize for the best questions. So it'd be good to be thinking about some good, tricky or interesting questions. Now, what is the purpose of this talk today? It is not to teach you English. I'm not an English teacher, and you have much better people qualified to do that than me. What I am going to try and do today in the 30 minutes, not a long time in the history of man, is to give you a few tips as to how you can, with whatever English you have, sound like you know what you're doing rather than sound like a foreigner. And you know those people who know English beautifully and they still sound like they're reading from a book. So I'm going to try and give you a little bit of a few tips as to what you can do with your English to sound as if you're almost a native. Does that sound fair? Yes? Does everyone at this stage kind of understand me? Am I going too fast or too slow? Too slow. Okay, that's nice. Okay, good. I like that. If it's too slow, we can speed up. Let's start right from here. So, a little fun fact. I teach marketing, strategic marketing, and cultural affairs at the business school at Moscow State University. What is the most misspelt word in the English language that you always come across in business? Just fun fact. Anyone guess? Just shout it out. Template? Good, but not right. Anyone else? Experience is a difficult one, and it's the I before E thing, but no, it's not that either. Remember, it's business. Think about maybe... That's pretty good. Colleagues is often misspelt. Okay, good. I'll put you out of your misery. That word is strength. People discover that they always love to put this G before the N, strength. Strength is something that everyone seems to like. When you look at SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat, that is the one that pretty much 90% of and actually English people misspell. Just a fun fact. Let's get into it. English is actually a simple language. I'm trying to learn Russian, and English is much easier to learn than Russian, except when, of course, it isn't. You know, it can be understood through tough, thorough thought, though, if you learn English. And of course, the I before E rule, we know this, of course, except when your foreign neighbor, Keith, receives 8 counterfeit beige sleighs from fighty, caffeinated weightlifters, which is weird because there's not a single I before E in that entire coffee mug. So English, unfortunately, is a language of exceptions, much as Russian is, but English is even more exceptional. So those are the sort of things. I'm not going to tell you about those things. I'm going to tell you about some of the common mistakes, so the common things that especially if you're a technical person and you're using it, these will be the pitfalls that will tell people that you may not have learned your English quite as well as you should do. I personally do not like grammar. Okay, don't like grammar, didn't learn English in a grammatical way. I learned it from my parents and from my friends. Really only learned grammar when I was about 12 or 15, by which stage I got into bad habits. So we don't learn language through grammar, but grammar can help you for a few quick wins, a few quick things that you can do that will make you sound a little better. So what's the first one? It's grammatical little tricks here. Or if you're smart, you're a group of technical people at IT Fest. I assume you're all smart, is that right? Everyone smart here? No one, anyone not smart? Okay, one. Okay, there is always one. Great. So you look for shortcuts. What's the first shortcut for you? Well, here's the very first shortcut. There is a tell in foreign English language, and it goes around things around definite and indefinite articles. That's grammar. Oh my goodness me, definite and indefinite articles is going to bore us silly. I'm going to tell you one simple thing. So first of all, what is a definite and indefinite article? Who can tell me what a definite article and an indefinite article is? Anyone? No? Anyone? The side, did I hear? Thank you, a and the. That's very good. Okay, excellent. So here they are, a and the. why does it matter about a and the? So we all know a is something and the is the definite thing, okay? When people speak English, especially Russians, they lose the definite article. My wife always says to me, are we going to dacha this weekend? To dacha, okay? Well, we are, but we're going to the dacha. We're not going to a dacha, we're going to the dacha, our dacha, okay? You will listen to people who speak English and constantly that definite article gets lost or the indefinite article gets lost. The first thing to do is never forget it, because that instantly says foreign, okay? Because that's how we, you know, when we imitate foreign, we say, you know, we kind of, I go to, and we kind of stutter along like that. Losing the definite article is the one quick win. Just remember how to use them and actually do it. It does really matter, because that's the one biggest tell that distinguishes really good, fluent English speakers from those that are just learning it. My wife has lived with me for many years and still gets that wrong. Pitfall number, does everyone understand that? Everyone understands that you should be using the a and the. And it's important where they come, because the means I know what it is, and the a is it is one of something, okay? Definite versus indefinite.
I'm sorry, Max?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
For the audience? What does the indefinite article mean in Russian? Anyone?
Mm-hmm.
And? No, one word. It was a hint. One word, it was a hint.
Okay.
One, it means one, yeah. Or n means one. An apple, one apple.
Thank you. Yeah, good clarification. Russians do use a definite article, but nowhere near as much as the English. It is very important. Pitfall number 2, word order. Russian, in my opinion, seems to be a bit random. You can put the words anywhere and it doesn't actually matter, which I love, because it means it's quite easy. As long as the words are right, it doesn't matter where you put them. But English, it always matters, okay? The one big rule is the subject always goes before the noun. I ate, I'm eating, whatever. I'm the subject, eating. Eating I, anything like that, instantly is a wrong thing. Word order and no definite or indefinite articles is the two biggest pitfalls that people fall into, that means that they sound very much like they don't know what they're doing. And finally, the direct object, if there is a direct object, comes after. Now, I know this sounds difficult, but it basically means, what did I do it to? So I ate lunch, okay, whatever it was going to be. So that always comes, not lunch, I ate, which in Russian you probably could get away with in certain other languages, okay? So word order is actually a really, really important thing. So, Max, you got anything to add to this on word order? Russian doesn't really matter that much, does it? It's not so strict.
Well, if you don't follow this rule, you might be Master Yoda.
Exactly. Yoda was the reason they made Yoda speak like that is a fine knight are you, or it basically makes him look a bit weird, because English people instantly think that's a very strange thing to do. Now, the last bit of horrible grammar I'm going to show you is about direct and indirect objects, because indirect objects follow direct objects, okay, when it's a preposition, and they come in front if the to is omitted. So here's a couple of examples to give you this. The doctor gave some medicine to the child, okay, or the doctor gave the child some medicine. So what has changed here is this word to. Once you have the to in there, it must come at the end of the sentence. If the to is omitted, then it always comes before the direct object, okay? And that, again, that misplacing of direct and indirect object is a really big clue in word orders that tells you the person doesn't totally know what they're doing. And if you just get 3 things right, if you get the definite, indefinite article, if you get the word order right, so subject, noun, object, and if you get the indefinite object and definite object in the right order, you are 99% on the way to sounding like you're fluent in English. okay? And then the rest is vocabulary. Does that make sense? Does that sound easy? That's a really easy thing. 3 things you have to do, only 3 things. In Russian, there's about 400 things you have to do, and you never sound like you're native, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, let's move on. What is the biggest controversy in the English language, do you think? It's a controversy that native English speakers struggle with. Verbs? Yeah, that's one. Definitely we struggle with that. But this has been contentious for 40 odd years. I'm going to play you a little video clip here which may give you a clue, okay? I hope it'll play. Let's see. Anyone know what this is? You're all techies. What is it? It's for Trekkies. It's techies for Trekkies, okay? This is Star Trek, obviously. That's the Starship Enterprise. Oh, and it didn't play. Why didn't that play? Maybe I have to click here. It's not a PDF in my... It is a PDF. That's a shame. We have 2 videos in here. Nope. Okay. That was, should have been, a video clip of the narration to the start of Star Trek, Space, the Final Frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission to boldly go where no man or no one, they've changed it to now, has been before. Okay, everyone remember those words? Yes? You all know those words? To boldly go where no one has been before? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Sorry? Well, I didn't hear that. Sorry, over here? Has been. No, it's something much more esoteric. Anyone guess what is wrong? Max, what's wrong with that?
How about we maybe try and clarify for the audience?
Yes, please do.
Could you repeat that?
How do you want to clarify? In what way?
Just repeat the question.
The question is, what is wrong with the sentence, to boldly go where no man has been before, or no one has been before, as they change it to politically correctly?
Что не так с предложением to go beyond where no man has been before?
No, it's a funny thing. Now this is, English people would be jumping up and down and saying, yes, that's wrong, that sounds terrible. It makes me sick just hearing that. It's so bad. It's a thing called a split infinitive. So the split infinitive actually means that sentence, that one of the most famous sentences in Hollywood or in television, should actually be grammatically to go boldly. You cannot boldly go. Okay, that is what's called a split infinitive. You have to go boldly. However, when you say to go boldly where no man has been before, it sounds terrible, doesn't it? Does it sound horrible? Does it sound very... So that's the problem with grammatic English. This is absolutely incorrect, and yet it sounds so much better than the grammatically correct thing. Now, Max picked me up on one thing. When I sent him the presentation today,
I think we need to clarify.
Okay.
Дело в том, что грамматически верный язык в реальной жизни не всегда употребляется. Это фраза из Стартрека, где внутрь инфинитива to boldly go попадает это слово boldly. Строго говоря, с точки зрения грамматических правил оно неверное, но в реальной жизни люди так говорят, и никого это не напрягает. В русском языке, на самом деле, мы тоже многие вещи не пишем, но вполне можем сказать. Например, если вы услышите от кого-нибудь не «что», а «чё», вас это не напряжет. Но писать вы так не будете. То есть у нас тоже такие вещи случаются.
have another video in here. I'm going to swap computers in the middle of this because I need to play this video. So if this will play, let's see. No, I can't do it. It's got no battery. Okay, we're going to have to do it differently. There's one other video which I wanted to show you, which is fantastic, but I'm just going to have to mime that as well. So if you thought I did a terrible James T. Kirk, you're going to see an even worse impression later on. Does everyone sort of understand that split infinitive? That again is, funnily enough, and I wanted to show this because it's a technical audience and this is Star Trek, it is one of those things where even the English are not sure what the correct word order should be, but grammatically it should be to go boldly, okay? Anyone else think of another English thing that also sounds weird? What about when I say, we're going to do something together, right? Now, most English people would say, Max and me are going to do something. We're going to present together. Max and me are going to present. What do you think about that? Max and me are going to present today. Is that good? What's wrong with that? What should it be? It should be Max and I. But the problem with Max and I, right, Max and I is absolutely correct. Congratulations to you, fantastic. It sounds very old-fashioned. Okay, so if I'm colloquially talking in the pub and I say, Max and I, someone is going to say, come on, what are you talking about? You know, it's right, but it's incredibly formal. Okay, so whereas Max and I is totally correct and exactly the right thing to do, and you should be saying it, most English people will actually say Max and me or me and Max. Now, should it be I and Max? If I said it the other way around, I and Max are going to do, what should it be?
Is it a question?
Yes.
I would say also Max and me.
Max and me, you would say, and me and Max. It should be I and Max, but again, it sounds very strange, right? So that's again one of those things where, controversially, most English people will not get that right. So split infinitives and that use of the word I and me, very, very difficult, even for native speakers. It sounds uncomfortable. Okay, how are we doing so far? Everyone sort of keeping up, understanding? Anyone not understanding and needs a bit of help?
Ну, на самом деле, маленькое пояснение. Я немножко даже удивлен, то, что ни одна рука не поднимается. Если бы вы все тут spoke perfect English, зачем бы вы сюда пришли? Поэтому не стоит стесняться. Если нужны какие-то пояснения, то руки поднимайте. I was just saying, if people spoke perfect English, why would they come here?
Well,
вообще ничего не понятно.
It's very funny that you should say that, Max, because the one thing that English natives don't do is speak perfect English. Okay, that's the one thing that gives away a native from a non-native. In fact, when I do quite a lot of translation of texts at different times, and I work a lot with international people, and the time I know that the writer is not English is when I see 100% perfectly grammatical correct text, which reads horribly. It reads like a technical manual. So in fact, that is the dead giveaway. We don't speak grammatically correct English. We speak idiomatic English. So one of the things that, whereas Max will probably hate me for this, it's good to use idiom. It's actually good to make mistakes as long as you know that you're making them. Yeah, does everyone agree with that?
We have a hand.
A hand? Yes, please. Sorry? We're going to need to give you a microphone. I'm sorry, we can't hear you. It's coming. Speak into the microphone, please.
How to destroy a Russian accent?
How to destroy a Russian accent. I'm going to come to that. I am going to come to that. Thank you for that question. I'm going to come to it. You read my mind. Are you a mind reader? You read my mind. Okay, that's brilliant. You can't destroy your accent, okay? I can't get rid of my New Zealand accent. I've lived in the UK for almost 20 years and I still can't get rid of my New Zealand accent. But I can show you a trick that you can do that will get rid of a lot of the Russianness in a Russian accent. Not that there's anything wrong with a Russian accent, but I'll show you a little trick.
От акцента избавиться крайне сложно. но есть несколько простых вещей, которые русскость из английского языка могут помочь убрать. Но совсем от него избавляться, может быть, и не нужно.
So here is our split infinitive, to boldly go where no one has gone before. And of course, as we now rightly know, it should actually be to go boldly, because obviously that should be, the infinitive should never be split in the English language, but it sounds rather terrible. Okay, what do technical, especially technical people, get wrong with the English language? What's the one thing they get wrong? And I get it time and time again that this happens. What do you think that one, especially for technical people, what do they do?
Какая самая большая проблема в английском у технарей?
Almost as bad as that. What they do is they use words that we don't use. So they use Google Translate and they find these wonderful words like posology and nosology and all these ologies. I have to look them up myself. I have no clue what these people are talking about. So as technical people, the biggest mistake you can make is to use complicated words, because we English people don't understand. We're not very clever. We don't understand them. Use easy words. Yes? Sorry? Too many passive voices is a great thing. Active, short. Remember, Anglo-Saxons have got the attention span of a small goldfish. Okay, so if you lose anything longer than long words, we can't understand. So long words, arcane words. The word Hansel. Does anyone know what the word Hansel is? It's to wear clothes for the first time. I'd never heard of it. Someone said, I'm Hanseling my jeans today. I had to look at that. What is Hanseling and Greteling, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, let's go on. Enough about grammar.
I'm sorry, let me summarize that.
Yes. We've only got 5 minutes there, Max, remember?
Не стоит пользоваться слишком сложными словами и строить слишком сложные конструкции. Как нам правильно подсказали, делать слишком много конструкций в пассиве тоже не стоит. Макс считает, что у англосаксов концентрация внимания примерно как у золотой рыбки, поэтому не усложняйте им жизнь.
Thank you. Okay. And don't have long arguments and flowery sentences. Long sentences and convoluted arguments, you lose the Anglo-Saxons. We get bored very, very quickly. Short, sharp, small words, words that everyone uses. That is the way to communicate better to Anglo-Saxons, believe you me. Right, doesn't work in English speaking. Right, French are very similar to Russians. They love detail. Anglo-Saxons absolutely hate. Americans really hate detail, okay? If you want to send them to sleep, they cannot deal with it. If you're communicating to Donald Trump, use very, very, very short words. Okay. Two things very quickly. One is, English people use small talk in a different way from Russian people. We use it to basically establish relationships. I will come and I say, hi Max, how are you doing? You look great, so you okay? How are things? How are your family? Is everything going well for you? Now what I'm not expecting is him to say, well, actually my dog died yesterday, my grandmother's not so well. And I'm just expecting him to say, yes, everything's fine, I'm very happy. All I'm doing with it, I'm not interested in anything he's saying, to be honest. I'm just establishing a mutual relationship. It's nothing to do with what I'm saying. It's just a ritual we go through. So we say, yes, you're a good guy, and I can get on with you. I don't care what he's saying. He doesn't care what I'm saying. Understand that, and you will understand small talk. Okay, let's get rid of that. We don't like detail, okay? If you're now going to tell me that my leg's sore and you want to see it and I've got these weeping... No, please no. Okay. Too much, too little. Don't talk about family too much. We love family, but we don't need to know too much. Never, ever talk about your health, and never, ever say how much money you have or do not have, because those are dead giveaways. Culturally, we don't work with that. Now, this is where's our friend over there? This is your question, okay? And it did have a very funny video, which is represented for you by a black screen. I'm sorry. You've all seen this video. It's a comedian basically saying, when Russians speak Russian, it doesn't matter what they're saying, it sounds terrible. Okay, Russians always speak fluffy rabbits and teddy bears. Okay, you've heard that one? It sounds like they're going to murder you, whether they're saying, here's some lovely flowers, or they are going to murder you. Why do you think that is? You ask, why do you think that is?
когда русские люди говорят по-английски, русский акцент для англоговорящих звучит немножко угрожающе. Иногда даже очень угрожающе.
I'll give you a clue. It's not the accent.
Но дело не в акценте.
What do you think it is? What do you think it is? What do you think is happening?
В чем дело на самом деле?
One is no smile. That's true. One is no smile. Two is very little body language or very little recognized. If you've ever seen any politician or even businessman present at a conference, if I was presenting at a congress to you guys and I'm Russian.
Max, the asker has the answer.
Yes.
Stereotypes.
I think so. For example, Americans watch TV, propaganda,
and James Bond movies.
Да.
But let me say, I agree with you. I think a lot of it's propaganda. But what you were doing there is exactly, if you ask me the question, how do I get away from Russian accent? It's exactly that. Russians, yes, the problem is that there is no tone and tempo. It's right for Russia. It's not a criticism. It's just that people listening to it who are not Russian don't understand it. So if you listen to how I speak, it's up and down. I change the tempo, I change the tone. That is what Westerns are expecting to hear. So if you want to get away from a Russian accent, the first thing to do is very simple. Change the tone and tempo. Up, down, expression. More expression sounds less Russian.
Стереотипы.
Perfect. You got it.
Стереотипы не самая важная вещь. Первая вещь, на которой стоит сфокусироваться, это темп и интонация, потому что в русском языке темп и интонация очень сильно отличаются.
Но еще я, кстати, читал на Ютубе вот комментарии под видео 10 самых сексуальных акцентов типа. И там вот было написано «You forgot Russian». И ответ, то русский акцент смешной просто-напросто считается как бы.
All right. Some people believe that the Russian accent is just funny.
I think all accents are funny. If you don't hear them all, a French accent is funny. The French is such a beautiful accent, it's romantic, okay? But why? It is, because it has a different flow. Italian has a different flow.
I also think so.
Okay, let's move on. Very good. Okay.
We'll get to questions later. Thank you.
Finally, last thing, body language. I alluded to it. Body language is very important for non-Russians. It is part of language. Notice we use our hands a lot. We use our expression. We smile a lot. We give eye contact. That's quite unusual in Russians, especially public speaking, that eye contact would be had because the person is literally just sitting here reading their notes, okay? So one of the things you can do if you want to make yourself a better presenter to foreigners is to just learn a couple of tips. Eye contact, very simple, and use some hand expressions, use some facial expressions, and use some tonal expressions, and that will actually make you a much more interesting speaker to a non-Russian audience.
Три простых правила, когда вы выступаете перед англоговорящей аудиторией и выступаете по-английски. Смотрите людям в глаза, поддерживайте зрительный контакт. Пользуйтесь интонацией и темпом и руками махайте активнее.
I'll tell you one last thing. Eye contact, good exercise for your eye contact. When you're doing presentations, 10 seconds for each person. Go around the room, 10 seconds for each person. It's really hard, but if you train yourself 10 seconds for each person, I promise you, you will start learning a really good technique. We've done that. Finally, last thing, if you write text, please, for goodness sake, get a native English speaker to read the text first. So this is very existential. Please pay your parking fee before existing. Jean-Paul Sartre would be very, very happy about that, okay? So do get someone to check your text. Okay, we've run out of time. There was so much more we could have said, but it's only half an hour. Thank you very much for your attention, and it is now.
Thank you very much. Коллеги, у нас есть 3 вопроса, как всегда, времени мало. Raise your hand.
Yes.
Hello, thank you for presentation. It was really great. What do you think about watching movies with subtitles? Is it useful for learning English? And which Russian or English subtitles is better?
It's a great question. I actually think that if you can do it, watching it with English, if you can read English, watching English movies with English subtitles is the best. However, if you're just learning Russian subtitles, I watch Russian movies with English subtitles, and I do learn some very strange Russian words, but I do learn Russian words. So yes, that's a really good way of learning. The better you are, the more you can go to English subtitles.
Thank you.
Great question.
Can I add something? Well, about subtitles, just one little addition. It would be best to turn them off first, because when you're watching a movie with subtitles, you're not learning to listen, to understand what you hear. You're reading. So watch a movie that you have watched in Russian before first.
That's a great answer too. Yeah, absolutely. If you know the movie, that does help. There was a question here.
Yeah. You said that one of the main things is correct order, but I actually didn't get what the right order is.
The right order is always subject, verb, object.
Repeat, please.
Subject, verb, object. I went to the shop.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's not I to the shop went, which is very poetic. If I'm writing poetry, I would do that because it sounds poetic, but it's wrong. Okay. There was one down here. There's one down there. Yep.
Thank you, Max. It was really awesome. And my question is, what is the biggest difference when we speak English to native speakers and those who learned it during their life? For example, with Europeans from non-English countries. Thank you.
That's a great question. So I think that native English speakers can always pick up what you're trying to say, even though when non-native English speakers will have much more difficulty. So I think the one thing with communicating with non-native English speakers, if you're also a non-native English speaker, slow, and it really does count that you get it grammatically correct, because they won't pick and pronounce it, because they won't pick up the clues. We can generally pick it up. If I speak my terrible Russian to Russians, they can generally say what I'm saying, but a non-Russian speaking it wouldn't pick it up. So you have to be much more careful with non-natives because they don't pick up the clues. The funny thing about that, I'll just tell you one little story. When I came from New Zealand to England, the English have a different accent from New Zealanders, and I thought I was going deaf, because I literally could not understand what they were saying. Now, it wasn't because they were saying anything, because I couldn't pick up the accent. I couldn't pick up the accent clues like my native New Zealand, and I literally thought I was going deaf. So that's the problem that you have when you're speaking to non-speakers that don't pick up those, you don't hear every word, so you have to pick up the things. You have to be much more careful that they hear every word. Great question.
Thank you.
Oh, we got to choose one. I quite like this, how to get the Russian out of Russianness, to be honest. So I think, is that it? Yeah. So thank you very much for your attention again. Hope you have a great Congress. I've been Max, and you've been great. Thank you. Bye-bye.